Whoa, 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 whoa. What is going on in Sarasota, Florida? I can tell you what's going on in Sarasota, Florida. You're talking about rental homes imploding. Yes, rent prices all throughout Sarasota are dropping, 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 and dropping some more. Let me get out of the way. Let me show you this house for rent for $4,150 a month. Yes, this house has been for sale for rent for months and months and months and months. It started out at 55, then 53, then 51, then 49, 46, 44, 42, and it just keeps dropping. And guess what? Still no takers.
What is going on, everyone? Jason here, and I have a quick favor to ask you guys. If this is your second or more time watching the video or tuning into the channel, please feel free to give the video a like and potentially subscribe, because it really does help the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. And with that being said, today we're getting into the topic of the rental market in 2025 and what in the world is going on with this. Let's see.
Rental market alert. A crash is unfolding currently in the US's rental market. And the key indicator right now is the vacancy rate. So take a look at Zillow's report. The vacancies are higher than they've been all the way back to 2017. So this is pre-pandemic levels. And rents in turn will have to eventually drop. And what will happen to people's mortgages when they are higher than the rent they can collect from their renter? Now, I know a lot of you thought that the commercial real estate would not bleed into residential, but it's happening right now, and it's happening at a rapid rate. What will happen to all these people who own rentals and they have to lower their rents, or their rent that they're collecting is much less than their mortgage? It will be foreclosures. Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments section.
Okay, so two things here you touched upon. One is what goes up must come down. So rental prices have gone way up, and so it's only a matter of time they come down. That's just how things work. And it's a constant ebb and flow, constant micro adjustments in the market to see, okay, how much can I charge as a landlord and how much can I pay as a renter? So what happens is when things get out of whack too much and rents are too high or they're too low, things come back to equilibrium. So what he's basically saying is rent prices have gone up so high now that it's just about a matter of time they're going to come back down. The second thing you talked about, what's going to happen when these landlords who own these properties can no longer charge high enough rent to cover the mortgages that they're paying. I want to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret as a landlord myself. This is not my specific situation, thankfully, but many landlords don't make much of a profit, or they break even, or they lose every month. Now, I'm not talking about big corporations and these big apartment complexes you see. I'm talking about mom and pop landlords. A lot of people think that these landlords earn a lot of money, they're swimming in cash, and they haven't made. But actuality, a lot of people who rent their homes did not do it because they wanted to be investors. They did it out of necessity, or because they were being a little bit too stingy and didn't want to sell their house for less than what they could have got for it. So a lot of these people, they're not making that much. They buy the house, they live in it with their family, they need to move for work, they need to move because of life events. And so when they go to sell it, they try to sell it for a certain price, they don't get it for what they want. So they, instead of taking it for less, or maybe they can't sell it for less because they're underwater, for example, instead they decide to rent it out. And by doing so, oftentimes don't make that much money, if anything. So that's just another piece of the puzzle. There's two sides of it. Obviously, if you're someone who's renting, you don't much care about what your landlord is earning or what's going on with them. All you care about is, am I going to be able to keep renting? Is the house going to be foreclosed on? Am I going to be evicted? For the landlord, of course, they're trying to make money. A lot of times, though, they're not trying to go buy fancy cars with it. They're trying to just cover their expenses at the end of the month and not have to come out of their own pocket for it. So that's just a fun fact if you didn't know that.
I'm almost 30 years old. I'm expecting my first child, getting married in October, and I'm literally weeks away from moving back in with my parents. I saw another creator on here talk about how her rent just went up exorbitantly high when she was asked to renew, and she decided she's not doing it because at a certain point, enough is enough. By now, we all know how horrid this housing market is, but I want to specifically talk about the renters market. For context, my fiance and I, our lease ends at the beginning of May, so we're down to the wire. Because we're expecting our first child, we're looking for 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I think that's a pretty reasonable ask. But when I tell you what we're dealing with out here in the renters market is so exhausting. Honestly, such a hopeless feeling. We're in Birmingham, Alabama, and a few things I'm noticing is one, almost every listing is owned by a property management company. Rarely will you find anything on Zillow like listed by the homeowner. Also, the quality of what you're getting for the rent that people are charging is absolutely insane. When I tell y'all the effort in the photos isn't even there, it will be the most rundown, old, yard unkempt, busted windows house posted on Zillow.
Let me stop her really quickly to touch upon this. So she mentioned a couple of things so far that I want to touch on. Number one, nothing wrong with moving back with your family for a period of time. She's getting married, and her lease is about to end, and her rent is going to be increasing. Okay, no problem. Take some time, go back home. I'm sure your family would love to see you. They would love to help you out while you're going through your pregnancy. Spend some time there, save some money up, and when you're ready, go ahead and buy what she sounds like is a starter home, the typical 3-bed, 2-bath. And in my mind, there's no such thing as a starter home. In my mind, you buy the home you can afford and you plan to live there indefinitely. And if you have to move, plan for that ahead of time, but that's another topic. So again, I don't think there's anything wrong with living home. Me personally, I moved back home because I'm saving to buy a house and I hope to buy soon. I've said this in other videos. I came back home. Me and my parents have a good relationship, and I've been saving up cash. I help them out as well whenever they need help. And it's a symbiotic relationship and it's good for everyone, mutually beneficial. Other thing she talked about is interesting is that she said a lot of the listings are not listed by individual landlords, but rather by companies or property managers. Now that's interesting. Now I saw something recently. It's about a company called RealPage. And I'll go ahead and cut to that now and let this video explain to you what RealPage is.
Federal regulators are accusing the company of colluding with landlords to raise the rents on millions of Americans utilizing artificial intelligence software.
According to the DOJ, they have used and fed confidential information into their algorithm and allowed that algorithm to offer options that illegally conduct antitrust activity violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. And so what the DOJ is saying essentially, I mean, the way that Attorney General Merrick Garland put it is the rent is too damn high and this is contributing to it. And essentially it is allowing landlords to justify maximizing rent hikes. And this comes as, of course, rent makes up the largest portion of inflation data that we're always here reporting on, right? And the DOJ is alleging that RealPage is acting in a monopolistic manner. Examples that are cited in the lawsuit that go on to show that RealPage was helping landlords raise prices and in some cases minimize price decreases.
So as you see, what's going on is a lot of these apartment complexes, they are being essentially monopolized by that one company, RealPage.
Zillow for like $2,900 a month. Are you serious? We've already had to increase our expectations when it comes to budget. And even then, things that fall in our price range are they're way out in the middle of nowhere, somewhere unsafe or completely just outdated and not up to living standards. If you're wanting something that's remotely even quality, newer build, safety, comfort, you're looking at upwards of $3,000. This is ridiculous. This is more than people's mortgage. Not more. This is double some people's mortgages for a home.
Okay, so about that, here's what's going on. Like I mentioned before, there are two sides to every story. Well, three sides to every story, two sides to a coin. Her side is as the renter, she's looking at these listings and going, this is like it's straight out of the 80s and the 70s, hasn't been updated, doesn't look great, and they're trying to charge me this much for it. Flip side of that is the landlord that owns that property, again, probably isn't making that much money. They are either trying to tell themselves, I'm not going to invest in this property. I'm going to try to rent it for as it is and see who comes along and takes it, which I'm not the fan of that. I like to have my spots as nice as possible. But also I bought pre-COVID. So there's that side of it. Also, the homes or the apartments or the homes, whichever one, the rentals she's looking at that are $3,500 or more, two things. Alabama, I think that's one of the places. Actually, I'm quite sure that Alabama, especially I think Huntsville, is one of the places in the US has seen a lot of people move there. So we have a lot of people move from other places where they earn more money, California, for example, New York. They're going to come in and drive up prices for these nice apartments that would have cost maybe $1,000 less before they moved there. Now they move there with that money, supply and demand, they're going to push the prices up. So now those nice apartments are going to be $3,500. And people like her, unfortunately, can't compete because she's from Alabama, it seems like, or she lives there for a while. She's making Alabama money. these coming from other states making California, New York money, they can't compete. So that's the other part of the story is going on here. So, but I wish her well.
If you think the housing market is competitive, the rental market is insane. So I listed one of my units, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath on Zillow last night, and this is what I get. Inquiry, application, inquiry. It's just crazy. So then I thought, inquiry, application. I thought, well, maybe I underpriced it. So I took it down, jacked up the price, relisted it, and then what do I get? Application, inquiry. It's just a crazy market out there. I guess nobody has a place to live and they need to find a place. I don't know, but I'm overwhelmed. I need to take it down again, take a pause, take a pregnant pause, figure this stuff out, and then relist it. But right now, I'm overwhelmed.
Okay, so what's going on here? The first guy was talking about how rent prices are too high. So I think what's going on here is he posted a listing for his rental unit, and he probably posted it either at or below market rate right now. And so he got a flood of applications coming. And that's because a lot of these people are seeing how good of a deal it is, and everything else is so high. They're like, this is great. Let me jump on this while it lasts. On the other side, he's going, whoa, I probably priced it too low because I'm having so many inquiries come in. I'm overwhelmed. Again, two sides of a coin. Now, personally speaking, and again, I don't want to sound, I don't like coming across as being this holier than thou. I'm not that guy. Trust me. I can't cast any stones. And again, I bought at a good time, but it sounds like he maybe bought at a good time too. Just, I'm gonna make some assumptions here. Just watching the video of him, he probably has a good amount of equity in the property. I'm guessing. Therefore, he could probably take a little bit less rent for it. But he's saying, oh, wow, I have so much demand, I can jack the rents up. Whereas me personally, I may not jack the rents up. Instead, I may increase it a little bit just to decrease the volume by a little bit. Then I will go through and try to find the most qualified renters. I'm not going to be the type to really try to just jack the rent up to the highest amount I could get. Again, that's just me. Again, I'm not trying to be holier than thou. Part of that's too because, I don't know. That's just me. But it's interesting to see the other side of the coin. And it kind of lends credence to what the first guy was saying, that rental prices are just so high right now that people are going to just jump like sharks, or sharks don't jump, I don't think. They're going to frenzy like sharks around a good deal.
Owning rental property is not as glamorous as you think. It is stressful, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of headache. Right now, going through some tough time in the rental market. A lot of property are taking longer to rent. You got to come down in prices. I got property right now that's sitting for 3 months, and some of these property are $2,500, $3,000 a month in mortgage. And if you got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of them at one time, it costs you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month. This is why you got to know this up front so that you have to reserve and you playing this game. 20 years from now, when you look back, you're glad at least you invested in it, because now your net worth has gone massively high because you managed to take care of this whole thing from day one.
Okay, so I know who this guy is. I've seen some of his videos because I'm an investor, obviously, so I watch other investors' content. And he made that video to talk to investors about how to plan for situations that we're in now that the first guy was talking about when rents get a little bit too high. And what did he say? He has properties that are sitting on the market as listed for rent for 3, 4, 5 months, and he has mortgages on them. Which means what? Which means if the renter is not paying for that rent so he can cover the mortgage, he's coming out of pocket for it. And therefore, the first guy said in the first clip, let's say he didn't have any reserves. What's going to happen? Well, he has to either bring the rents down, which is not necessarily a bad thing, or if he can't bring the rents down and he can't rent the properties, eventually, if he can't afford to make those monthly payments, what happens? Foreclosure happens. So the last video here is very, very relatable to the first one in that, I mean, this is a guy who's really in the trenches, owns property, multiple properties, and is saying that he is thankful he has reserves because the rent prices are so high now, or he's competing in the rental market where the rental prices are so high now that it's difficult to get the property listed for what he needs to list it at. And so that's causing him to be squeezed. So I'm not shocked by this. Again, I think it's all about equilibrium. Things go up, and once they go up too high, they have to come back down. It's just a balance. It's like nature, yin and yang, or that's good and evil. More so just nature has a tendency to revert back to the mean. It has a tendency to revert back to a balance. And so when things get out of whack, prices too high, whether it's rental or it's housing, affordability, buying houses, things need to get corrected. Now, another option would be people go homeless. But I don't think that'll really be an option. Some people will go homeless, but obviously, what about these landlords? They're not going to want to let these properties go into foreclosure, so they're going to have to drop the rent prices. So, long story short, we're going to see some things balancing back out, I think. And so, honestly, I think it's a good thing. Again, this is coming from a landlord, but also someone who's looking to buy. I think it's a good thing. I think that we need to have some balance. It can't just be completely out of whack where people can't afford to rent and have reliable shelter, safe shelter over their head. I'm not with that at all. So with that being said, I thank you for sticking around. If you made it this far and you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a like and a thumbs up. It's the same thing. And feel free to subscribe, as I mentioned before, if it's your second time or more. Feel free to subscribe. It really helped me out. I appreciate it. And until next time, make smart financial decisions.